Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Happy holidays in advance. Hope you have a wonderful week. We have a lot to talk about today, including the college football playoff. 4 teams in. Are they the right 4? We'll get into that. The NHL makes it official. They have their plans for a 56-game regular season and some realignment in the division. We'll debate. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers as they try to turn around 2 losses in a row and right the ship. And here to talk about that is your panel tonight. We have Josh Taylor over there in Studio B. My colleague will be top right of your screen. Down below him in this Brady Bunch box is Chris Mueller from the PM team, 93.7 The Fan, and to his right, your left, or whatever it is, it's Chris Adamski from the Trib, who does a great job covering sports with a unique perspective. So, gentlemen, let's get right into this. And Chris Adamski, we're going to start with you. Concerning the Steelers, obviously that's a team they're going to beat. At least they should. If they don't, it would be the biggest upset on Monday Night Football, according to the spread, which is 13.5. But which is more important for them to fix tomorrow if you had a choice, the run game or the deep passing game?
Well, I would think more important would be maybe the deep passing game, because I think that's what you're going to need in the playoffs and the postseason. But what I think maybe more is urgent, I know that it sounds contradictory, would be to fix the running game. When you're going now in a half a season and you're calling yourself an elite team, and they are 11-2. You can't argue with the results in that sense. But 47, 21, 68, 106, 44, 46, and 48 rushing yards in their past 7 games. That's almost half a season. Whenever you're not even clearing, you're averaging 50-some yards per game. Listen, I understand, I don't want to get in that whole argument about the debate about the short passing game. It can, but when the short passing game is working, and when it's not working, when you can't throw the ball down the field, and you have no real intermediate passing game for sure, and you're not running the ball, then the short passing game is not going to work. So this is a game the Steelers probably will win, but more so they can't afford to have it be one of those Dallas games. They had the Jacksonville game. They really need to kind of do what they did to the Bengals last time to kind of restore some sort of order to their season.
I'm going to go with the running game on that one. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, I would actually, well, this will be nice. Then you guys can bookend the running game around me saying the deep passing game, because I think that this team is going to kind of make it or break it, whatever they do, based on Ben Roethlisberger's arm. The running game's nice, but I think we all, and Chris sort of alluded to this in the way he set it up, we all look at that as more of a situational feature than anything. You want to be able to run on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2 if you need to. You want to be able to convert goal-to-go situations without resorting maybe to constant trickery and clever play calling. But the meat and potatoes of this offense, for better or worse, is Ben Roethlisberger. And guess what? You can turn on Red Zone if you want on a given Sunday and see quarterbacks, good, bad, awful, excellent. They all throw the ball down the field, or at least attempt to. And that's the thing the Steelers really have not attempted to do. And that's a big reason the short passing game's not working. Roethlisberger has to show me that there's some zip left in that arm to keep defenses honest.
I don't doubt that at all. I think the deep passing game is important, but fixing the running game could help set up the deep passing game, and part of that is if you can actually operate and play action, which is something that this team very seldom does, and it's not a secret anymore. If you could run the football, set up play action, and maybe give Ben a one-on-one matchup on the outside, then the deep game comes into all of it. Not to mention the fact, Chris, you talked about situational football. Let's talk about how bad this team has how often on 2nd down. They get into so many 2nd and longs, and then they run the football. Why? Because they're not successful running the football on 1st down. If you start being better at the beginning of the drive, then you can get better 3rd down situations. Then you can sustain drives, maybe even score a couple times, maybe even score in your first drive of the game if you could put something together. So I'll say the running game because it sets up everything else.
Yeah, the question then becomes, do they have enough people up front to make the running game work?
Absolutely.
They had a good beginning to this season, and they used some of those guys to open up holes that resulted in 130 yards a game and 4.1 or 4.2 yards per carry, Chris Mueller. But then all of a sudden they went away from that. So do the up front guys still have it in them to open up holes?
I mean, I seriously wonder the degree to which they do. I think Zach Banner was clearly superior to Okorafor as far as a run-blocking right tackle. I think that's absolutely hurt him. Banner was just an enormous human being who liked to get straight ahead and maul people. I think David DeCastro's playing hurt. Marquise Pouncey, despite his reputation, is just at the end of the line. I think he and Roethlisberger, they say they want to go out together basically, right off into the sunset. They both appear to be about as late in their careers as one another. And then with Dotson not practicing this week, that takes a Mueller out of their lineup. Villanueva's had, I think, a really challenging season as well. So I would wonder Pomp. I think you raise a good point there. I would wonder if an aging line is just running out of gas and them running the ball effectively was a function of how early it was in the season.
Chris, I'll say this much, too. You probably miss a guy like Stefan Wisniewski right now, too, who, by the way, has plugged in Kansas City's offensive line, and you saw what they're doing on offense against New Orleans. They're continuing to run the ball, even with Le'Veon Bell or with Edwards-Helaire. They're also throwing the ball pretty well, too. Imagine having a guy that healthy with his kind of experience and 2 Super Bowl rings that you sent packing midway through the season.
One thing I'll say about the deep passing game is I'd like to see the first time I've heard, other than just knowing that he's 38 years old and coming off of surgery and is a 17th season, so you have worries whether his arm, whether it's still there, whether the strength is there. The first time I saw a pass and I thought, oh my, that interception to James Washington, or intended for James Washington Sunday night in Buffalo last week, that was the ball. You had a guy open down the field and he just didn't have it to get it to him. Now, is that an anomaly? Was it something he misread and it wasn't necessarily his arm? I don't know. But that was the first time that I was watching a game live and I actually thought this might be it. Maybe his arm isn't. Maybe that's why this passing game can't go much farther down the field than it is right now, is because of Ben's arm. So just for that reason alone, I think it would make everybody feel a lot better and sort of calm everything down if Ben did hit a couple deep balls this week.
All right, now, they have a game, and it looks like, based on what Kansas City did again in New Orleans, they're not going to surrender the number 1 seed. So now the question is, Josh Taylor, does seeding even matter? If you're not the number 1, when you add a 7th playoff team and you take away a 2nd seed as a bye, does it really matter where you finish up? And to that end, if the Steelers clinch tomorrow, should they rest veteran players?
It doesn't really matter in the context of this season because home games without having full stadiums are kind of moot from that particular perspective. The only thing that still kind of factors in is maybe travel and getting rest and maybe losing that extra day to shore things up in practice. But I think you're onto something here. If you're not the number 1 seed, having that rest probably does affect you, and it does make you want to maybe rest guys towards that last game of the season. I'm sure the Steelers would love to be able to rest guys going into Cleveland, which why winning tomorrow night is so much more important to wrap up the division. That way you don't have to worry about Cleveland. But yeah, seeding's important because you at least want to get that home game so you don't have to worry about going to someone else's field the day of or the night before.
I would disagree about it, though. I don't think seeding's that important because if I were the Steelers, I would get this radical. Look how good Baltimore looks. If I thought that doing something in one of these final 3 games kneecapped Baltimore's chances to make the playoffs by some logic or tiebreaker system, I would absolutely throw one in the tank and try to keep Baltimore out because they look so dangerous. I think they need to prioritize rest above everything else, up to and including the division title, which frankly in this town should be irrelevant, and I think for most fans is.
Yeah, this is the one area I think with the NFL sort of the air in the way of adding a 7th team. And listen, it adds more money. That's the main reason. You're adding excitement to the bottom of the bracket. But you can make the case, other than making the playoffs, that they drop off from the 2 to the 3. The 2 seed was more important. If you're talking about a marginal benefit from a seed going up the ladder, was the most important of any in a conference's given season. That was, you're getting a bye out of that. Now you lose the bye. Does it really matter? Yes, there's the marginal benefit of hosting that potentially, if they both win, 2nd round game against the 3 seed instead of having to go there. Now, during a pandemic season, I don't know how much difference that makes, but I guess you avoid the travel. But the 6 and the 7, and in most given years, and especially this year, is there going to be that much of a difference? We'll see the roll of dice and see who gets the 6 or gets the 7. But I don't know if the Steelers would do it. But if they did wrap up the division and didn't have a shot at the 1 going into that last week, they might be better off just resting people, especially Ben.
We have more NFL stuff a little later. When we come back, though, we're going to not only talk about hockey and what's going on with them in a 56 game in a whole new division, but we're going to get into the college football playoff next. One team is in that a lot of people thought wouldn't get in. The other team has a complaint, or do they? We'll talk about it when we continue. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, Sunday nights on KDKA-TV.